You can set a timer for this, 90 seconds. And once that timer is done, check in with yourself and see how you're feeling now. I think that you will be surprised at what you find. So I want to start out by telling you a little story. And this happened to me yesterday. I woke up and I was just mad. I was so mad. I didn't know exactly why I was mad, but in this half asleep, half awake state that I found myself in, feeling all of this anger, my mind immediately went into a space of trying to figure out why I was mad. Because if I could put reasons onto why I was feeling angry, I would be able to solve it, right? Like, that's the general idea of things, and that's what the mind is so good at doing. Like, it's an incredible pattern, I wouldn't say recognizer, although it does have that skill. It is a pattern applicator. So I'm laying in bed, letting these patterns or reasons for being angry percolate up. I'm like, oh, I'm angry because I didn't get enough sleep last night. I woke up too early. Oh, I'm angry because I wanted to change the sheets. And I told Hyson that I wanted to change the sheets, and the sheets are still not changed. Or I'm angry because what? Because, I could come up with all sorts of stories, and I did. I came up with a lot of stories about myself, a lot of stories about my husband. Primarily, I came up with stories about my husband, actually, because that's what we tend to do when these big emotions come up and we're not sure what to do with them. We're not sure how to hold them. We have this really strong tendency to try to put them onto someone else, and generally that someone else is the person who's closest to us. So here I am, like, rolling around in bed, trying to wake up, trying to go back to sleep, trying to figure out why I'm angry, and finally I tell him, I'm getting out of bed. It's time for me to get up. And he's like, oh, how are you doing? Because he's still asleep. And I'm like, I'm angry. I'm angry at this, and I'm angry at that, and I'm angry at the other thing, and you can't keep me in bed, and just like throwing myself a little tantrum before I finally get out of bed and go start my morning stuff. In the past, there have been times when I've gotten into that place and let that anger completely overwhelm me, and I've pushed it out onto the people around me rather than getting curious about what was going on. But I've been through that process so many times and learned how to explore things over time, learned how to take a step back and be like, okay, what is the thing underneath the thing here? What's the story underneath the story? How can I, and this is in the newer version of this, how can I just feel this feeling without attaching any story at all to it? This feeling wants to be felt. This feeling is coming up in me and wants to just be experienced. So how can I do that? I drink my morning tea, and then I get on my yoga mat, and I've got these things kind of percolating in my head, like, what's actually going on here? How can I just be with this? And as I open myself up to the experience of the anger, it starts to kind of blossom, and I can start to pick these petals back so that I can get closer and closer to the center of the flower, to the truth of the flower, to the thing underneath the thing. And what I find as I peel these petals back is first anger attached to stories, But that's not really why I'm mad. Yes, I would love to have clean sheets, and I do now. But that's not the thing. That's not the thing. So I peel these back a little bit more, and then I just find anger. Okay, is the anger the bottom of it? So I let myself feel the anger. The anger is not the bottom of it. There's more going on here. So I continue to peel back these petals. And what I find underneath the anger, as you often will, is fear. And then I start to hear a voice in my head, or I start to be aware of a voice that has been playing throughout all of this on a kind of subconscious level that I haven't been aware of previous. And now I can hear that voice, and I can hear this kind of litany that is just reciting over and over and over again. And what that voice is saying is, who the hell do you think you are? Who the hell do you think you are that you can write a novel? Who the hell do you think you are that you could have a YouTube channel? Who the hell do you think you are to start a second YouTube channel with your husband? Why would anyone care about that? Why would anyone care about anything that you do or that you are or that you have to offer? Does any of that sound familiar to you? I imagine that it probably does. Because this voice that just goes off and off and off is not unique to me. It's something that I think all creatives and maybe all humans have baked in. That voice that says, who the hell do you think you are? To have the audacity to even for 1 second believe that anything that you make could be of value to the world, could be entertaining for the world, could be useful for the world. Who the hell do you think you are? And I'm reading Women Who Run with the Wolves. I started on the 2nd chapter today. If you are interested in going through this book with me, I'm hosting a live book club Sunday mornings, I guess. If you're watching in the United States, it's Sunday mornings. Come to church with me. And in this 2nd chapter, she talks about the inborn predator that's in all of us. And she uses first the story of Bluebeard, different, to illustrate this story. And basically the story is there's this woman who gets married to Bluebeard, and he goes away on a trip, and she invites her sisters over, and he's like, you can go anywhere in the castle except this one room. And of course she goes into the one room, and the room is full of the bodies of his previous wives. And as she explains in the book, what we do with, or what Jungian psychologists do, or psychologists in general do with the fairy tale, is applying each part of it to the individual. So Bluebeard is within the individual, as well as the innocent woman who, married him, and all the innocent women who died. So what she's talking about is this inborn predator, this part of ourselves that exists specifically to destroy things, to destroy creativity, to destroy innocence, to destroy joy. And we have to be kind of vigilant about this part of ourselves in order to keep it tamed and keep ourselves aware of it, I think, is the most important thing. Because for myself in this story, that voice was so subtle that I couldn't even hear it at first. And if I hadn't had all of the experience and the tools that I have available to me to take that breath, to take that step back and just get really curious about what was going on, I could have fallen prey to that voice, fallen prey to the predator. Now, circumstances in life can make that predator stronger. Circumstances like abusive, neglectful childhoods, abusive relationships, this kind of thing, trauma. All of that can make the voice of the predator that much stronger. But the point is that the predator exists regardless. As soon as I became aware that that's what I was hearing, it became much, much easier to start distancing myself from it and to understand the interplay of fear that gets covered up by anger that then gets projected out to my husband in this case. The fear came from my inner child who knows that voice so, so well. Part of it is a fear of the person behind the voice. And while there is that innate predator within us, like I said, circumstances and people can make that voice louder. And for me, a lot of that voice's weight comes from my dad. So I was able to start to feel into what my inner child was feeling, because I felt so young and I felt so small. I felt like I had gone back in time. And this is a good kind of barometer that you can apply to yourself when you're having big feels. Ask yourself, how old do I feel in this moment? And you might get some interesting insight into where those emotions initially came from, as well as ways that you can offer yourself care at those times, because it would be the care that you needed at that time, at that age. So I've got the voice of my dad happening, and there's an element of fear that my inner child is experiencing that is fear of that person, fear of the power that my father had over me when I was that age. And there's also fear that, and I think this is a lot more keen, a lot more impactful. There's fear that that voice is right. That all the things that I've told myself and that other people have told me about how valuable I am, how valuable my work is, the joy that I bring to their lives, the help, the guidance that I bring to their lives. There's still a part of me that is scared that what that voice says is true. And what all of these, okay, when I say this out loud, it sounds patently ridiculous, but all of these beautiful, brilliant people that I respect and admire who have told me these things, that all of them are liars? Because that's kind of what it comes down to. And I know that we need the inner validation. And as a projector specifically, I have to be able to recognize myself and my gifts first. And for me to entertain this idea that, all of these people that I love, all of these people that I care about, all of these people that I trust have been lying to me, that's kind of crazy. So I work my way through all of this, unpicking everything, giving my inner child some care, some love, and I'm able to come out the other side being the end of my yoga practice, with a much better understanding of what I've just experienced and what it actually means. I have some theories as to why this particular voice was triggered at the time that it was. I mentioned the YouTube channel that I started with my husband. It's pretty new still, but it's doing quite well. And it's hard for me not to compare and contrast with this channel, even though they're extremely, extremely different channels with a very different demographic. I'll link it in the show notes if you want to go look at it. It could also be that I had a dream about my mom and that stirs up some stuff. But whatever it was, the end result is that I had a feeling, I needed to feel it, and ideally not attach stories to it or do so as little as possible. So that's what I'm bringing to you today. When you have these big, big feelings, I urge you to get really curious. Not just about why am I feeling this? How can I make this stop? But what does this feel like? What does this feel like in my body? How old does this make me feel? Again, going back to that. What shape does this have? Can I, this is an exercise for you. Just take 90 seconds to sit somewhere quiet or lay down on your yoga mat or your bed and just allow yourself to feel the feeling completely without a story attached to it. Just the feeling. Anger, depression, sadness. Just feel it. Feel it through your whole body. Feel it completely. Feel it in the depths of all of your cells. You can set a timer for this, 90 seconds. And once that timer is done, check in with yourself and see how you're feeling now. And I think that you will be surprised at what you find. If you do this exercise, please, please, please leave a comment. Let me know how it moved through for you. And if you have any other ways that you approach these big emotions that I haven't touched on, let me know down below. I'm always up to learning a new tool. I want a big tool belt. But I've read somewhere that it takes 90 seconds to completely process an emotion. And I think that what we do so often, understandably, is that we push them away. We just push and push and push because we're scared of feeling the feeling. We're scared of what that might unleash. Which is very interesting. It brings me back to Women Who Run with the Wolves and the idea of the wild woman that she talks about so much through this book. The idea that a wild woman is something dangerous. But a wild woman feels all of her feelings completely. And perhaps that does make one dangerous. The ability to feel all of it and not get attached to the patterns that our brain whips up to try to explain it. Okay, that feels like a good place to end. If you're new here, please subscribe, comment, let me know how you found this video, and I will talk to you next time. As always, use your voice. It is the only one you have, and we need it.